Welcome back to Toss It Out podcast, guys. We're in season 4. What? So exciting. I'm so gassed. It's going to be a litty season. Anyway, so I thought I'd introduce myself. It's your babes, Jade.
Hey guys, it's Rosa.
It's Kenny.
And this week we got a special guest on. Do you want to introduce yourself, babes?
Yes, my name is Augustray.
We are here to talk about what our purpose is and kind of steer the conversation around that and see where it goes. So, does anyone want to start?
Yeah, first I was going to ask, what's your mission and what do you do?
Right now, I actually host my own podcast. It is the Crowded Mind podcast. My whole goal around it was to find myself, pretty much self-discovery, and then also be able to assist others in, pretty much motivating them or inspiring them to start their healing journey. And that's where this podcast is actually headed. So that's what I do right now. Aside from that, I'm in school full-time for my English and digital art degree. Pretty much going hand in hand with podcasting, blogging, things like that. And then I work full-time doing a regular job, 9 to 5.
Wow.
How many hours a day do you have left?
No, usually.
I don't have a lot of time. I feel like my time is extremely limited. And it does cause stress, but at the end of the day, I'm almost done with school. I'm done next year, so I can't wait for that.
Yeah.
And, I'll have more time with my podcast, and that's what I really just want to stay focused on, eyes on the prize, and that's just the prize right now. So that's what keeps me going.
Oh,
that's amazing.
I love that.
Yeah, that's really nice. It's a lot of stress on us at this young age. I don't even know how old you are, but I can't imagine when I was at uni, I made it a thing not to even work, and I had a lot of free time because I was going in 3 days a week. So I had free time, but I still I refused to do any work because I'm already stressed enough as it is. I can't come and kill myself. So I can't imagine doing a podcast and then working full time. I'm working full time right now, and I'm like, leave me alone.
Yeah.
I complain every day.
Kenny, maybe you need some healing. So
that's why we're here.
Yeah, exactly. You mentioned you help people on their journey of self-discovery and healing and stuff. What kind of journeys have you been faced with so far, with other people, or if you're happy to talk about your own?
Oh yeah, absolutely. To answer your question, I'm 28 years old. I just turned 28 in December. But I guess for me, I'm in the States, so I was born and raised in Denver, Colorado. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of that.
Yeah.
That's where I'm from. And I was raised in a project. I don't know what you guys call projects in the UK.
We watch a lot of American TV. So
yeah.
We know the projects.
We know
what you guys call projects there.
Do you know what? London lingo, it'll be
the ends, maybe? Yeah, the end.
Or council estates or something like that.
Yeah, it's just the block, the estate, the ends.
Yeah, the estate.
Then.
The ends. It's the ends.
I'm learning more. I'd like to know what you guys call things too. So I was raised in a project over in Denver, and I was raised with a single mother, and she was a teen mom. She was 16 when she had me, and we just didn't really have a good relationship. And that was just the starter of a really spiraled, out of control life that I had, been brought up in. And when you're in certain projects, you have, the drugs, you have the gang affiliation, you have just a lot of things, that go on and that you're exposed to at such a young age.
Yeah.
That is in turn just going to cause a lot of trauma, and at least it caused a lot of trauma in my life, which led me down a path of just, I guess I would say, what would I say? I don't know. I feel like I just put myself in a lot of dangerous situations, and by me opening up now at an older age, because I figured out all of these things that had happened to me, and being able to kind of find the roots in each issue that I've had and that I've been faced with as an adult, it has truly been inspiring for myself, and many people find it inspiring for them as well. And that's pretty much what I'm just doing. It's just a lot of healing and
that's amazing.
Focus on that.
I love that. I could definitely relate to a lot of that. My mum was a teen mum. She had me at 15, and it was like just me and her roughing it, like again in the ends, as you say. Was exposed to a lot of just madness through like my mum having a traumatic upbringing, and then I having a traumatic upbringing, and then like having to deal with my dad and all that. So I fully get that. And I remember getting to a certain age and being like, there's a lot of demons I need to battle because of my upbringing, and a lot of things that I need to heal. So I can definitely relate to that story.
I'm happy there's some type of relation there.
Yeah, no. I fully relate. What was the biggest thing that you felt like you needed to deal with? So was there ever a point where you was like, do you know what? I just need to just detach myself from the world and start this healing process? Or was it something you was like, no, I'm going to delve into after time and break down over time, if that makes sense?
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. For me, I always thought that I was going through a healing journey in my early 20s, but it was just a lot of in denial, a lot of thinking that I'm actually healing, but I'm not even touching the surface. And pretty much what I was doing is I was probably in my early 20s, I was on Facebook and I was making a lot of motivational videos, and I was trying to make everybody else feel better, which in turn I felt that it was making me feel better, but that wasn't the case at all. You know, I was putting on a smile. I've always been a very strong individual from the outside looking in. My closest friends, they never really knew much about me and like what was going on internally with me. And that wasn't helpful. You know, I wasn't the type of person that would lay all my issues out. They didn't know half of the things that I was going through growing up. And by me being able to be this person who everybody comes with, you know, to for advice and looking for some motivation or inspiration, but by me, I thought that I was, you know, healing by doing that. And that wasn't the case, like I said. So what happened was I had a mental breakdown, and I've had a few, and I've struggled with depression my whole life. And I think the one thing that really got me to start my healing journey was when I got with my girlfriend. And it was a situation where I had finally got with somebody who I felt extremely safe with.
Yeah.
And they say that when you really love somebody, you hurt them if you're not healed. And that's why they always say, make sure that you're healed when you are, you know, getting
that one struck.
Yeah.
Girl, and I was just extremely I lost it. Like I took, since our psyche thinks that we're safe now, I took everything out on her. All of the years that I had struggled with, everything that I had been through, all of the things that I was internally suffering from, it all came out on her. Like I had just vomited it all on her. I was becoming very abusive myself, and I had been abused my whole life. So I was just like, I'm hurting the person who I love so much. Why am I doing this? And then I had to dig deep, and that was the breaking point for me. That's what it was.
Well, that's big of you to admit that. A lot of people go through that and they don't realize they're doing it as well. But yeah, so someone actually asked me this question the other day. I didn't know how to answer it because I was just thinking, I was like, wow, I never even thought about it. But so I went through a similar, well, I just say similar, but I also went through like a time where I was just like suffering with depression and things like that. And I was just kind of setting myself on fire so the people around me would be warm type of thing, right? And I was telling somebody about this and they were like, so how did you heal from that? And I was like, well, I don't know. I was like, I just did. But like, can you identify your journey? Like, do you know? Or is it something that like has been like a ripple effect and it's kind of just been like your mindset has just changed? Or is that something you could answer? Because I definitely could answer
I mean, I can answer it to the best of my ability. And honestly, I'm still not healed from a lot of things. I just lost my baby brother last year, right? So
So sorry about that.
Oh my God.
He was 20 years old. He asked, you know, a lot of people wanted to know like why or how he passed. And my brother accidentally shot himself in the face and he passed suddenly. And I feel like you're never really healed, especially when you're going through a healing journey and things always happen. You know, death is a huge situation. Losing people, not even to death, but just, you know, taking them out of your life, whether you have to or whether they have taken you out of their life. There's many different obstacles that you're going to face that are always going to make you feel like you're stepping 10,000, steps back, taking 10,000 steps back. So for me, healing is a journey through this whole entire lifetime. You're never going to be fully healed. And I really want to stress that. You're always going to deal with something that is going to trigger an issue to come back. But what you have to do is you have to be able to identify them. Just like you said, you have to identify those triggers, right? Because there could be so many different things that can take me back to all of the unfortunate circumstances that I had been in growing up. Like my brother's death was one of those things. I've lost a lot of friends to, violence, prison, simple car accidents. I've lost a lot. And me losing him in the middle of me trying to find myself, trying to get onto this, this self-love journey and healing from all of these things that have taken place for me. It was extremely hard, and I'm still suffering, and I'm still trying to, get on that path. But for me, it is a ripple effect, because it's one of those things where I'm just like, how am I healing from this? How do I heal from this? And the only thing that I can say is that when you're going through a healing journey, you always have to identify the root. And it's not easy for everybody. Everybody can't do that. Some people really do need assistance. They need a therapist. They need to be able to talk to somebody who can identify those triggers, those problems. But if you are one of those people who are going through, a self-healing journey, and you want to be able to identify them yourself because you're not comfortable, like how I was talking to people, it's always about sticking to the roots and understanding your purpose and your why, as why you want to be here, why you want to survive, why you want to live through, what do you want to do, right? What's most important for you and your health? And so for me, I feel like the biggest part is that, what do I want to do? And it's really just your purpose. I feel like finding your purpose is the answer. And me is just helping people. I've always wanted to help people since I was a kid. So I feel like that's really the only answer I can give, is being able to identify yourself and learn who you are as an individual, and be able to identify when you're getting sucked back into the depths of hell. And
that's a great way to describe it.
Just get yourself out of it,
No, I hear that.
Yeah.
I hear that. Oh my God, I relate to that so much. That's so mad. And that was going to be my next question as well. Like, when I went through my breakup, I felt like that triggered so many like childhood traumas that I felt like I'd been suppressing for so many years. And I suddenly felt like I didn't have a purpose. And then when Victoria said that she was talking to you as well, and I jumped on and had a look at your podcast, the first one that I listened to was you talking about your purpose. And because that was something that really resonated with me. So just like kind of speak on that. Like, do you feel like you need to find your purpose? Do you feel like you could go your whole life and maybe not have a purpose and just kind of ride through life? What was your reason for wanting to find your purpose?
Honestly, I feel like certain people do have, I have come across people, friends, right, who have lived in a world where it's very just a mediocre life. They don't really have anything that they're chasing, nor do they even care to. They're just living day by day in a world where, and most of it, and I hate to say this, and I don't want to generalize it, but I'm just talking about this individual who I'm very close with. It's a superficial lifestyle, and there's really no depth at all in the journey that they're walking, right? So I do feel like it's an individual necessity, I guess you can say. Like it's necessary for me to know what my purpose on this world is, because I, for one, believe in, way more than just this earth, way more than just anything that we can imagine. I'm like way outside of here. I don't even feel like I belong here, to be honest with you. I really don't. I feel like I feel like, my higher power just accidentally put me here, and now I have to figure it out to get my act.
Whoops.
That's how I feel. But I feel like it is an individual thing. I feel like certain people don't have that crave to know what they're here for. But for me, when I was young, I always felt like I was destined for greatness. I was supposed to be here for a reason, whether it's helping one person or two people. I was always wanting to help somebody. And so that's that's just what it was for me. That's why it's important for me, because I feel like I'm not here for myself. I'm here for others.
No, I love that.
Oh, that's a really good point.
Bringing it back to people who sort of, and I wouldn't call it mediocre, but people who are okay with just living like a normal life and they just want to do everything routinely and just like have kids, get married, just live a simple, normal life. I envy those people, to be honest. Because sometimes I wish my life was that simple. Sometimes I wish I didn't have like so much aspirations and so much like struggles. Because there's some people, obviously, you never know what people's path is like, but there's some people that we can't even deny that they have it way easier than others, and their life just seems so simple. And sometimes I'm like, I envy that. Like I just want to be normal sometimes, but my life is not normal. So do you sometimes envy people who are just so simple, who literally don't strive for greatness? They're just okay with being just there. They're just happy to be here. Do you get what I'm trying to say?
Having a family and living a normal life, that is a purpose. Bringing life into this world is a purpose. I mean, it's really just about what you find is purposeful than, what's not. I feel like people who live in a zombie world where they don't really just insert themselves in anything, nor do they want to. That is mediocre to me. But if they choose to be happy with that and they're good, then fine. But I've always saw myself as being a mother. I've always saw myself as being a nurturer. And I feel like if you want that, I don't ever want you to think that you being in that normal life is, I know that you said that you can't, like your life isn't like that, but being a mother and being a wife or having a family, that's purpose in itself. You don't need anything else if family is what you're aspiring to have, because that is a job. Okay. That is
it is a full time. That's what I'm saying. Like I envy that.
Like, yeah, if you want that, then go for it, because that's purpose.
But I don't want it. I'm trying to say, I wish I did. I wish that was what I wanted. But because I feel like life would be so much easier, because that's what, that's kind of what you're supposed to do in a sense, but yeah.
See, I was gonna throw a spanner into the works into what you just said there, Kenny. So I know a lot of people who are happy with like what I consider a normal life as well. And before I used to think like, why are you so boring? But because, for example, like my brother, this is just one example. I'm not saying his life's boring because he lives a fun life. But I really want to go traveling. And before I was like, I just want to kind of not have any plans. I want to just have some money saved up, go traveling and see where the world takes me, basically. And he was like, are you stupid? Like, what? He was like, how are you not going to have a plan? Like, you're an adult, Rosa. Like, you need money. You need a plan. You can't just like jump from place to place. Like, you need a visa. You need this. You need that. Blah, blah, blah. And I was like, yeah, I know that. But so there's like a difference of opinion. But I kind of realized that it isn't that people don't want things for their lives. It's people want different things for their lives, and everyone strives for what they think is going to make them happy. And sometimes a stable government job just pushing paper around is someone's ideal life.
Yeah, some people love
like
that.
Yeah, because then they have like more time and energy for things outside their lives. Because if everything's exciting in your life, it's going to drain you.
And I think some people are also not seeking like purpose to say. I think some people are just, like I said, just happy to be here. They don't necessarily think there's a purpose like to life. Like not everyone believes that. And it's kind of hard sometimes, but I feel like having a purpose, like August said, is kind of what pushes you and what will bring you out of like, if you're having like a hard time or a dark time. I think having something to like look forward to, or having a purpose where you're like, this is, I've not achieved or I've come here to achieve yet. And that's sort of what pushes you. So I think in times like that, it's really important to have a purpose. Do you ever wish like your life was easier?
No. I feel like I have asked myself that question a lot. If I can take everything back that I've gone through, and I just have like this, I had, you guys have no idea. I had 2 lives. I had my grandparents who lived in a suburb who, introduced me to a different lifestyle than what my mother had, right? They were well off. You know, my grandpa had worked for the government for years. He just retired like 2 years ago. And so they had a good home. And I was able to go to school had I chose with my grandmother in a more wealthier area. And I was in sports with them, and they put me in singing lessons with them, and I was able to do all of these things that I wasn't able to do when I went back home with my mom, right? And my mother was she was just very different. She was just unimpressed by a lot of things. So I can see them so clearly. I can see the path of my grandparents, and I could see the path that I'm on now because of my mom. And I just feel like had I went through that normal path with my grandparents and I was safe, if I actually had the opportunity to do that, I didn't. But if I did have the opportunity, I feel like I just wouldn't be where I am right now and have the wisdom that I have right now and have the personality that I have, like the compassion. I just feel like I would be somebody completely different. And I never want to be entitled or feel entitled over anything. And I just feel like I'm just super humbled by the lifestyle that I had and the purpose that I have found myself on right now. I wouldn't trade it for anything. I wouldn't trade anything that I've gone through, any heartache that I've gone through, any abuse, dangerous situation that I've gone through. I wouldn't trade it at all for anything.
No, I get that.
Wow.
110%.
That's a powerful thing to say.
That is,
very
you know.
powerful. Yeah.
Can I ask, how are you healing? How are you healing yourself? What are you doing to heal?
I do a mixture of things. I do a lot of meditation. I do a lot of journaling. I do a lot of talking to myself. I talk to myself.
Me too.
No, I have full-on counseling sessions with myself.
Yeah, I talk to myself. I just realized that because I was at work last Friday and I was just like talking to myself, and the guy at the back looked at me and was like, "Were you just talking to yourself?" I said, "Yes." I was like, "Is this not normal?" Oh my God, yeah.
Hey, you have to become your own best friend, and I'm still trying to like myself in a lot of different areas of, you know, who I am. But it's just one of those things where the more that I gain respect for who I am as an individual, the more that I will find healing. And that's what's helping me. Is just, you know, being by myself and learning who I am and becoming my own best friend. Because if you don't love yourself, you can forget it, honestly.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
definitely.
That's so true.
You have to.
That's so true.
Yeah. That's the number one thing. And a lot of people think, obviously, now we know that loving yourself is like, we've seen it everywhere. Loving yourself is not selfish. But I think for a long time, and a lot of the older generation, like it just even our parents, they think loving yourself and doing what's best for yourself is selfish.
Mm-hmm.
And that you're here not for you, but for other people, which, yeah, to some extent, yeah, we cannot live for ourselves. I think life would be so boring if we just did everything just for ourselves, like just live for me. Like life is gonna be boring if you're just thinking about yourself the entire time. But at the end of the day, I also think like you have to just love yourself so much that you're willing to do what's like best for you. You're willing to put yourself first. You're willing to sort of do what's gonna make you okay before you can make everyone else okay. But I think a lot of people think that's selfish, and I think a lot of people still find it hard, especially when that's sort of how you've been brought up, when you're not allowed to basically do anything for yourself. Where it's like, oh, what about this other person? You can't live like that. But it's like, yeah, but I don't even know where I'm driving at, but it's kind of like, that's the number one thing. I think you have to love yourself so much. And I think that's where it starts from, where you have to love yourself to the point where it's almost too much. And that's when you be able to be that person that everyone else needs as well, in a sense.
See, I'd say it comes from respect first, because I very specifically remember that I respected myself way before I ever loved myself. Because like the respect was like, come on, like, you know, you don't feel this, but you know you deserve it. And like you said, like, it was standing up to people who were just kind of like getting things from out of you, but not thinking about your well-being. And honestly, like, my healing journey started as soon as I started to put myself first. And I did feel selfish. I did. Like it felt weird not thinking of other people first, but everyone thinks of themselves first, like they do. And that's
Mhm.
why that's how it should work, because if everyone thinks of themselves first, then they think of other people second, everyone's going to want to help everyone else. That doesn't make sense.
Yeah,
Right?
I think if you're okay, if you're okay, you have more energy for other people. And you're more willing to give other people. But if you're not
Yeah.
if you don't even have enough, and people are taking from you just like resent them, then they don't even know that you don't have enough for yourself.
Yeah, like if I'm
Yeah.
going to help someone, like let's put it into physical terms. If I'm exhausted and my arm's broken and I try and help someone move house, that's not going to work, you know? Like I'm not going to be able to lift any boxes or do anything. So I've got to heal my arm. I've got to, you know, maybe go to the gym, whatever. And then I can help them move house, you know? Like it's the same with mental state, you know? But
Yeah,
yeah.
definitely relate to
I
that.
had a question about your podcast. So your guests, do you talk about sort of healing journeys with them, or about their healing journeys? Or what's your goal for your podcast, like development and everything? Like what would you, if you had something to say to people, and like let's say everyone in the world is going to hear it today, what's it going to be?
I've only had one official guest on my podcast this season, and she was wonderful. Her story was amazing, and this isn't just about me. So um, when I initially started, yes, it was, but I didn't think anybody was going to listen to me. It was really just a coping, mechanism for me, being able to talk out loud, hear my thoughts, be able to just kind of have a outlet that I can go to. And people started actually listening to me I started in 2019, and it started becoming really overwhelming for me. So my goal at that time was just to talk about my thoughts of pretty much anything that I had going on. And in turn, it was supposed to help me, kind of discover who I am as a person and find myself a little bit. So the 2019 August on The Crowded Mind didn't really have this future of what exactly I was doing with it. And I had taken a long time off because obviously last year was COVID. A lot of crap was happening. We just were really stuck in a time of just the unknown. And I was going through, my brother passing away. So as my brother had died and I was, mourning his death, I was like, oh, how am I going to come back? Because my whole goal was to come back. And how am I, like, what am I doing now? Because there was people who were just like, when are you coming back? Like, I loved your last season. I want to know what's going on with you. And, they were just being super supportive. And then I had an idea. I was like, you know what, this season, it's going to be extremely different. It's going to be a season where I'm not only focused on myself and, expressing my own thoughts and the things that I've gone through, but I'm also wanting to make this about my listeners, because I'm not the only person who has, trauma all built up. And it's not the same type of trauma that I have. Not only did I go through, abuse, verbal and physical abuse from my own parent, but I also went through domestic violence and saw a lot of things that I shouldn't have seen at such a young age. And I know that there is people out there that can relate to that. But I also know that there's people who could have gone through molestation. There's people who could have gone through, just different struggles that I don't even know about. But my listeners are able to relate to those things. So my whole goal is to be able to bring people on who have different experiences, who are comfortable talking about them and what they're doing to either begin their self-discovery journey, their self-love journey, their healing, or who have already surpassed it and are living in a life where they probably thought that they were never going to be able to escape. And I want that for my listeners. I want them to be able to relate to different stories and hear other people talk and see where their mind is at in relatable situations, so that way they can be inspired and motivated to begin their own.
Yeah. I think that's great, because I found, and I still find a lot of comfort in listening to other people's stories, and that's kind of how I discovered podcasts. I think one of the first podcasts I started listening to was The Receipt. I don't know if you've heard of Receipt podcast.
Mm-mm.
Oh, you should check it out. You're gonna love it. But like I just really enjoyed listening to even though the podcast is more like relationship focused and stuff, I really enjoyed listening to sort of, you just realize you're not the only one, in a sense. Like there's so many people literally going through the exact same thing as you, and somehow there's some kind of comfort in that, that you're not alone, and that you kind of hear how other people deal with their struggles, and hopefully maybe that's gonna help you deal with your struggles. And it's kind of like a community in a sense, and having it's like a comfort blanket. Even it's like it's something to look forward to, and I hope and I'm sure even your podcast is that for somebody as well, where like they're like, oh, this week I get to listen to August talk about this thing, I get to relate and get to feel like I'm not alone in that sense.
Minds, yeah.
So that's so amazing, and that's so important. Like I agree, Kenny. It really does like help, doesn't it? Like it helps you, because a lot of people when they're feeling low, they feel alone. I won't speak for everyone, but it's the case like in a lot of cases, if that makes sense. But August, how do you find the strength to do that? Because obviously you've spoken very openly about going through your own stuff, and it's like really heavy stuff for anyone to go through. So how do you find the strength to then sort of go through that with other people as well, and to like sort of talk to them through it, and like almost like relive it as well, as you speak about it?
Because even on our podcast, we make it a thing not to talk about every topics every week. It's actually a thing, you know.
Like how do you cope with that? How do you mentally bring yourself to do it?
Honestly, it's not easy. People will listen to me and think that and I've heard them say it, like, you're so strong, how do you do that? But what they don't know is when I'm telling a story that I have gone through, it is extremely traumatic for me. It is healing me by letting it out and releasing it. But what people don't understand is that when I'm done recording an episode, I'm probably crying, and I'm probably going through a lot of emotions and a lot of, issues on my own side. But being able to release that and to talk about it on my podcast, yes, it helps me because I'm letting it out now. I'm just putting it out in the open. But I'm not as strong as people think that I am. And I know that this is a very brave thing to do. And I know that it is a strong thing to do, but it's not something that I have, it all together when I'm done. Like, it's not like that at all. I am still very emotional about a lot of things. And I'm still very scared of a lot of things that had happened to me, but it's just helping me get rid and move on in a way where I do not allow this to suffocate me anymore. Because what happens is when I'm not open about it and I'm not talking about it, it's still living in me. It's still living in my brain. And it's me just, suppressing all of these emotions that I've had throughout these years. So for me to be able to talk about it, yes, it's like I'm releasing poison. I feel like I'm just releasing poison and it's being sucked out of me. And I'm still going to it's still going to cause some type of negative effect toward me. But at the end of the day, I'm able to move on a lot stronger than what I was that day, whether I was crying or not. But it's just still not easy. It's still not easy being able to be open and be vulnerable in a way where people are listening to my most darkest secrets that I've kept in hiding for a very long time. And I have always been a girl who was very private growing up. My friends didn't know a lot. Like I said in the beginning, my friends did not know a lot of the things that I was dealing with inside, a lot of the experiences that I had. And for them to be barely hearing a lot of these things at 28 years old, I know they're just like, what the hell? Like, how did this all happen? It's just because I'm a very private person. And I used to be able to, I used to look at crying. I used to look at, being vulnerable as being weak.
Yeah.
I never wanted anybody to feel sorry for me. And I made sure of it by not speaking up about a lot of things that, I was going through. I was just very prideful, and I just didn't want anybody to look at me as if I'm just this weak, fragile girl. I just didn't want that. But, I got over it. It's just a prideful, there are people who like to pity people. And that's not what I'm looking for. I'm not looking for anybody to pity me.
Yeah.
I just want people to learn from things that I've gone through, or to understand that even though you may have gone through this, you can get out. It's possible to remove yourself from those situations. It's possible to remove yourself from, your own mental illness holding you in this cage that you feel like you can't get out of, you can't escape. It's possible. And that's all I'm trying to do. So once I got over that idea that people would pity me or I look weak, that's when I took it and ran with it, and I just started talking about it.
No, I love that. I love that fully.
Yeah.
I'm one of four. I'm the eldest, and I feel like my role as a sister is to kind of protect all of these lot from ever feeling what I ever felt as a child. I felt like as a child, I felt way too many deep things I shouldn't have felt. I should have just been airy fairy and loved life and like been so like wrapped in cotton wool. And I spend my whole life always like making sure that these kids are never ever upset, or even if they are, it's about something so minor. Do you get what I mean?
Yes.
My final question to you would be, what would you tell your childhood self growing up?
Oh, I love this. And actually, before I say that, I just want to commend you because I'm the oldest as well. And I've lost two siblings, to a little sister and a little brother who was 17 and then 20, like I said. And then I have my last sibling, who's 18 years old. He's my baby brother. And my whole life, from my two brothers, because they're from my mom, I always wanted to protect them and to keep them from really knowing who our mom was when she was younger, because she was like, for me, she was like this monster. We're really good now. But when I was young, she was a monster to me, okay? But she didn't treat my brothers that way. So I always wanted to protect them. I always wanted to protect them from the idea of her, the idea or the realization of what she was actually doing to me as a kid, So I totally understand you when it comes to being that protector, and then also like kind of letting go of our own needs. I honestly think that now that I'm talking to you, that probably was why I was so damn prideful, because I was so used to being a protector that I just feel like I couldn't let myself even be vulnerable in situations. I just had to deal with it. But for me, looking at at myself as a child, if I was able to talk to her, it wouldn't be me talking to her, actually. There's nothing I can say to her because the little girl that was once here, she already knew everything that I didn't know today. Yeah. So it wouldn't me be telling her anything, because I feel like when I was a child, I was so sure of myself. I knew what I was going to do when I got older. I knew what my goal was, what my plans were. I just had everything figured out. And it's so crazy that I'm living in a world that she created. Because when I was going through all of these things on the in-betweens of my life, I forgot about my goals. I forgot about things that I had told myself as a kid that I would do. Because when I was a little girl, I was like, I want to go to school for English. I want to be a writer. I want to be able to help people. I had already known a lot of the things that I'm actually doing now that I barely realized that I am walking in her dreams. And so it wouldn't be me going back to her and saying, don't give up, don't do this. It would honestly be just me thanking her and that I should have trusted you. Yeah. That's all I would say.
Oh,
wow. I love that. I relate to that so much.
That's amazing.
The quote that people say, remember who you were before the world told you who you should be. I feel like when we were young, we kind of always knew what we wanted, and then we kind of grew up, and then the world just throws different things at us, and for a moment we forget. It's so easy to forget like what you're here for, what your passions are, or like what your purpose is, to be honest. And I think sometimes we look back, we're like, oh wow, I'm actually doing what I wanted to do when I was at this age. So I think that's so true.
Yes. I just feel like a lot of us as children are extremely innocent and we know what we're talking about. And I feel like we just need to trust it. We need to trust our inner child, and that's where inner child healing comes from. And if you guys ever want to begin this healing journey of of yourself, if you ever have, trauma, always look at your inner child, because that's where everything stems from. That's where everything comes from. It's all about trusting that. But other than that, there's just nothing to talk about with her, because she had it all going on. She knew what she wanted to do.
She was bossing it. She was bossing it.
Because I know you mentioned at the beginning about friendships, and also on your podcast, you titled one of the episodes "Building Friendships and Why I Suck at It."
Yes.
And I think in a way I kind of relate to that, where especially where you feel like an outsider from like a young age. I've always felt different from people. I've always felt like outside of them. Even when I had friends, I just never felt like they were my friends in a way. Like we were just always friends at school, but when I would be at home, I never felt like I had like friends. I could never go to like my friend's house or anything like that. I never had those kind of things. And even when I did, it was so short-lived, where I just felt like I was so protected in a way. So I never really had a friend I could go talk to and like tell them all the things that maybe are going on in my life or things like that. But I was lucky because I have a twin sister, so I've always had that person in a way where as I grew up, I was like, I felt like I don't actually need that person, because I have my twin sister and she understands me anyway. She's living my life with me in a way. But it's also hard not having people that you feel like know you in a way, like deeply really know you. I feel that way as well. I have friends and I like them. I like spending time with them, but I never feel like no one actually knows me, which is, it kind of sucks.
Yeah.
And it makes me think I suck at friendships, because I don't think anyone really knows me, and I don't think I'm really close to anybody in a way. But how has that been for you, where you feel like you can't really tell people what's going on in your life? Maybe you feel they will relate to it, or it's just too much baggage to like involve someone in a way.
Okay, so this one is hard for me. And the reason being is because in the States it's different. I feel like it's a lot different than the UK, because there's so much diversity out there. I know you guys still struggle with some things politically, but here we still have very segregated areas, extremely segregated. So for me, what made it difficult for me building friendships is my isolation to other cultures, because I was only raised around Hispanics and Blacks. That's it. Okay. So I didn't have a lot of white friends. I didn't have a lot of friends from different backgrounds, So like with me, I was raised around a group of people who had the same life that I had. So we were able to relate to each other. However, the issue is that we were raised in a really messed up environment, that there was a lot of betrayal. There was a lot of lying. There was a lot of stabbing in the back. But these are the only people who I know. So it was just like something that I grew used to. I was used to this betrayal. I was used to this drama. So then when I actually started finding work, I've been working since I was 14 years old. But when I went into, call centers, I was 16. So I was able to see a whole bunch of different people finally, I was around, everybody, every type of different culture, but I still wasn't befriending a lot of people, because I felt like the more I heard them talk about their life, I just couldn't relate. Like,
oh my God,
where you have a lot of privilege, and I don't come from privilege. Okay. I don't come from, money. I don't come from any of these things. You had a full ride scholarship. I didn't even finish high school at that time. So it was just one of those situations for me that was extremely hard for me to be able to trust these people, because we are it's two different worlds. You're just in a completely different world than I was brought up in. And I just felt like I was going to be judged, and I was going to be in this, put in this stereotype category. And I just didn't like it. So I stuck with the friends that I had from the projects, but growing older, you start to let them go, because you realize that the people who you have around you in certain situations, like me, for example, they were not doing anything good for me at that time anymore. I had outgrown them because I found my own path. I didn't want to be in a world of this betrayal and drama and just this life. I just didn't want to, I didn't want any parts in it anymore. So then I realized, okay, well, I dropped everybody. Now I really don't have any friends. Yeah. So now I don't have nobody. Okay, how am I going to start now? So you start to let people in, but now I'm still guarded because the people who are coming into my life still don't have the same past as me. I'm talking to people who have a 2-parent household, who have had like, you know, family vacations, going on holiday every chance they got in the summertime. It was just weird talking to these people who have this life, and I'm just like, well, you know, that's great, Erica, but I'm not.
But that's the beauty of life, you know. You're like, whoa, tell me more.
It's just there was just no relation. Like it was hard for me to talk to people who really didn't have a lot of struggles, like really deep struggles. I realized that the people who I was talking to, actually, let me stop that. What I really want to stress is that if you guys ever have a friend who has gone through traumatic situations, do not ever think for 1 second that the things that you consider a struggle is not a struggle, because, you know, people had it harder than you. People didn't have food on the table. People didn't have a 2 parents. If your grandma dying was your traumatic life situation, your trauma, you do not sell yourself short when it comes to your own personal traumatic situations just because somebody experienced a lot harder in your opinion, in your eyes, worse than what you did. And I always stress that to everybody that I talk to, is that just because you, like, for example, somebody's parents who are going through a divorce and who have gone through a divorce can be a really, really big, you know, a traumatic situation for them. And that could be the only thing that they've ever gone through, right? I would never look at that person and tell them that, oh, you're weak. It really just a divorce. Like, what is that?
It's not that deep.
There's no level to this. You are put onto this world, and whatever serves you as your trauma is your trauma. But what I'm saying is that I don't know what it's like to have a divorced parents, and, you know, that being the issues that I've faced. I can't relate to that. And it was really hard for me to be able to befriend and talk about all of the things that I've gone through, because I had sex at such a young age. I was just married at such a young age. I had gone through all of these things already in my teen years. And I'm just like, I can't relate to anybody. And I just feel like what I come with is just so dark compared to the life that they've had. And that's what makes it extremely difficult. And it makes me uncomfortable to talk about with certain people. I have to get over that. And then the next episode that will be on my podcast, if you guys stay tuned with that, you guys are going to hear a little bit more about that topic. But it's really just about being open. Honestly, everybody comes from a different background. Nobody's going to be just like you. You're just not going to, like, you can have people who have the same experiences, but why do we always want that? Let's ask ourselves that question. Why do we always want that? It doesn't make anything any better. It just is. It's comforting. Yes, it is. However, people who come from different backgrounds bring you to a whole different life and perspective of different situations, you know, like being able to be like, you know what, you're living through what they went through because you guys are sharing each other's stories, and that opens your mind way more than just to be put in a situation or put in a friendship that you guys were both from the projects. Yay. Let's talk about it.
Exactly. Yeah.
We already know what happened. We don't need to keep talking about this. We know what our life was like. But for me to be able to be somebody who had a great family dynamic, wow, you know, that's amazing, because now I get to see who you are as a person. Now I get to learn somebody's different upbringing and how they are. And you just learn. You're learning from people. You're constantly learning. So all I say is that we just have to be more open, and we have to find comfort in people who are not like us. And that's just it.
Yeah. I literally related to so much of what you just said there. I'm going to just try and unpack it real quick. But oh my God. Okay, I need a minute. I was like, woo.
There's so much wisdom in just those words. Like, literally, I get it.
It's so true. Because, like, I mean, I went through sort of like a similar but different thing. Like, I always thought I was really lucky because I grew up somewhere that was very, like, multicultural. but then I didn't realize because I thought that, I realized later on in my life that I didn't actually know a lot of different cultures because we were still from the same hometown. And everyone still had that like very similar but different mindset. Like I was meeting loads of different people, different cultures, different races, different whatever. But when I finally like branched out and went to uni, college for you Americans,
Yeah.
which is a quick translation. But yeah, I was faced with so many different people, and it was just wild. Because I say this a lot, but even with this podcast, like you girls, it's just been so much like mind opening. Is that a way to say it?
Yeah.
Like I remember even like little things I was talking about, like my previous dating life and whatever, and thinking like it was so normal because everyone around me had similar stories and similar experiences, so it was just normal to us. And you guys were like, Rosa, that's not okay. And I was like, oh, okay.
Or like me,
Yeah,
or like me that
exactly.
thinks a 3-hour date is a good time, and then Jade was
Yeah,
like, no, we got all night, babe.
But yeah, it changes. It's just But then with my friends at home, I remember I used to go back like when I was like Christmas holidays or whatever, and I used to go back home and I used to go out with them, and I didn't realize until a few years ago that I literally, every time I went back, all the progress I had made just got cut because I turned into that 16-year-old girl that I was before I left when I was around them, because they hadn't changed.
Yeah.
And because they hadn't changed, I was the person I was with them, because it was comforting. Because you like improving yourself is never going to be easy. It's always scary because it's something new, first of all. And also you're scared if you don't get it, then you're going to be stuck in this like mad little world in your head. So getting to that good place is always scary. So when you come faced with something where it's like, you know, like your friends are letting you be this person that you were before and they know you for it, you fall back into it. So I've cut them out now. Like I talked to a few, I didn't actively tell them like, I'm never speaking to you again. I just kind of like, I was like, you're not good for me, bye. No, I'm joking. I just kind of like,
it's a natural thing. It's a natural thing. You just outgrow.
Yeah.
You outgrow your
Yeah.
relationships.
You grow
Well.
up. That's it.
No,
And
definitely.
I just like kind of like put a distance there.
So important, like finding purpose. It starts with yourself and loving yourself enough to take yourself away from situations that harm you physically or mentally, and then putting yourself in a new environment where you're like, oh, let's see what this would do in a way. I think is so important as well. And and I think that's what you have done in a way. It's like you're like, I don't want to live like this anymore, and I have to do something about it. And then you're taking that step to healing. And I think there's a difference between knowing what to do and actually doing it. Because I think when I started that journey for myself, it was just like I was learning a lot, I was reading a lot, watching a lot of YouTube videos, but actually implementing all the things I learned was hard. I was like, like I know what to do and I know my feelings. I'm so self-aware. It's ridiculous and I hate it. Like I know why I'm doing what I'm doing. I literally think ahead of certain things before it actually happens and stuff like that. I'm like, oh, I knew that was going to happen. But like sometimes it's hard. There's a difference between knowing what to do and actually doing it. But it's also a journey. So I just try not to stress myself. I'm like, babe, just chill.
Chill.
You just chill out. Just chill. You have a long way to go, hopefully. So yeah, it's a journey, I think.
Yeah. You know, when you said how you're still like shut off when you meet new people because you don't relate to them. I did the same thing. And it literally, I completely forgot I even like actively said this to myself and actively started doing it, because now it's just such a natural thing I do. But I just stopped caring that my trauma was trauma. And I just kind of was like, well, literally every single person I've ever met has something going on that no one knows about. And like sometimes people open up to me. I feel like I've just got that face, I guess. But people have told me a lot of shit that I never even asked for. But I'm here to listen. But yeah, it's just now I'm just like, obviously I don't just unload all my struggles onto people. But if they ask, I'm very open about it, and I'm very like, if I've processed it, I'm okay to speak about it, because chances are they also have been through something. And it's like it's going through and like breaking that stigma of you can't talk about it, it's got to be secret. And And it's like, some people are like, oh my God, Rosa, like, what, that's such a big deal. Like, this is not the time to speak about it. But then other people are like confused that I have spoken about it in such a casual way because it kind of takes away its power.
Yes,
But,
that's the goal.
yeah, like
That's
with
the
friends now, it's like, since I cut those like old friends out of my life, or like grew out of them, let's say, because we'll just grow up, that's what we do. Since I've done that, and like I start actually focusing on real connections rather than I've been friends with them for 15 years, you know?
Oh, you know?
It's like, oh, you know, I can't like cut them out. I like their mum, I like their dog.
Trying to hold on to them just for the years. Just for the sake of saying you've got that old friendship. Like,
yeah,
it's
exactly.
Not
It's like they become like family, and then it's like, no. But yeah, now since that, like, I realized I have some, like, the friends I do have and the friends that I consider friends, they are amazing. Like, they are insanely amazing human beings. Like, I love every single one of them. And like, I never used to think that when I was at school, or whatever. It just used to be like convenience, or, you know, and I used to let a lot of my friends walk all over me. Like, I've been betrayed way more than by friends than I have by like guys, or, you know, like relationships or whatever. So it's now like, yeah, I think it's very, very important to just kind of take the leap and just be open with friendships, and like let them in. It's way easier than said than done. Like, it took me years, obviously, but I honestly, it's such a good thing that I did.
Yeah, a misconception is that we don't need anybody, but yeah, I mean,
oh my God, yeah,
you don't. Technical, but I mean, who wants to live in a world where you're alone? You know, so for me, I'm just looking for genuine friendships. I'm just looking for people who just want to vibe, and it just be very peaceful and very like a beautiful union between just me as their friend and they as my friend, and just us being able to embrace each other and be that person that they need. And for me, in order for me to do that, it was just about letting go of all of the things that had, made me feel like I was shackled, because I have never been open with just my past. They have to ask about it, or usually how it happens is they're talking about their own life. Oh, you know, we used to go here, we used to do this, we used to do that, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, what did you used to do? Like, yeah. No, that's where I just really get uncomfortable, because I'm just like, well, my childhood wasn't really a childhood, so I didn't have all of these great things to talk about. So that's when I got uncomfortable. But at this point now that I'm going through the healing, it's just, you know, you kind of get you get used to that shocked face that they have. And you're just like, but hey, I've grown from it. You would have never guessed it. You would have never known.
Here I am, baby.
Yeah. You know, you're so shocked because of who the person who I am today, and I am this person today because of those things. So let's just be honest about that. Let me just say that first. Yeah. So honestly, it's just, you know, it's been a journey. It's been one. It just started. I'm still going through it. I'm not perfect. I'm not at all. And I just hope that you ladies know that whatever you want in this life, whatever you want to do in this world, I never want my message to come across where you have to have struggle, or you've had to have trauma to be anybody, or to have had purpose, because purpose is not because of the struggles or the trauma that you've experienced. That's not it. You could be a person who came from everything, a silver spoon in your mouth, but you want to go across the country to help people build villages. You didn't have it. You don't even know what it feels like to be homeless or not to have any water. Yet you still do it. So there's no measurement in purpose. And just like, I believe Kenny was the one who said that, you know, having a normal life where, you know, being a mother, being a wife, you know, you aspire to have that, you know, that you envy that. There is no measurement to a purpose. It's just whatever serves your purpose, whatever you feel that you are on this world to do. That's it. It has nothing to do with as big or as small as what it is. It's just literally what you want to do in this life is your purpose. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Whether it's working a job from 9 to 5 and you're content. Okay, well, that's your purpose. That's what you chose to do. That's what you want to do with your life. And that's absolutely fine. But mine is just literally getting myself to heal and helping others find that, and maybe more. Moving forward, I have no idea what my life is headed towards, and I'm not really one of those people who think so much in the future. I'm more of the person who thinks so much in the past, and that's what I'm trying to remove myself from. But you know, my life is just, I'm here to serve myself and I'm here to serve others, and that's just it. And I really want to thank you guys for bringing me on here and having this conversation, because it just opens everybody's perspective of what purpose actually is. But that's why I wanted to make it clear that there's no measurement to it. It's whatever you want it to be.
Yep.
I love that. I love that so much. And you've been an absolute gem, opening up and just like sharing your journey with us. And I feel like this is going to be a very, very valued episode. So I appreciate you coming on the podcast, definitely.
Oh, absolutely.
I really, really hope if there's one episode people listen to, it's this one, because I think our viewers would really, really appreciate this talk that we've just had. So thank you so much for coming on, because it's every single thing you said, I was like, oh, yes, that's it. I was like, oh,
Yeah.
she said it. So no, thank you so much for your time.
No, I love you guys in the UK. I've had some listeners from the UK, so I'm just so excited to, hopefully, you know, people find value in what I talk about and what I'm saying. And if they want to continue learning more about like me as an individual, they know where to find me. It's the Crowded Mind podcast. And I definitely want to stay in contact with you guys. I was out there. I wish that like I would have had the opportunity to meet you guys when I went to visit. It would have been great.
Oh my God.
When everything opens up, you come back.
No, we're gonna fly out. Like, you don't want to come to the UK. It's dead. It's boring. We're gonna fly out.
Ever come out here to the US, please let me know. I will fly wherever you guys go, whether it's California. California, so just let me know if you guys ever come out.
110%. It's been a pleasure.
This was fun. We'll love a part 2, by the way, in the future.
I feel like we need to do a year's update. We need to check in on everyone and see where everyone's at. Like,
we'll be sitting here crying like, oh.
I know, and I'm so sad that Victoria couldn't come. I really wanted to talk to her. So yeah, if you guys ever want me back on, just let me know. I'm
So,
no,
for sure. For sure.
I'm going to wrap this up, guys. So thank everyone for listening. I hope you've enjoyed our first episode back in season 4. Let us know what you think. Leave us a comment on the Apple podcast. We really appreciate it. Leave us your Twitter handles or Instagram handles and we'll get back to you and tell you how much we love you. Follow us on Instagram, follow us on Twitter. And yeah, it's been your babes, Jade.
Hey guys, it's been Rosa.
It's Kenny.
And it's August.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for listening. See you next week. Bye.
Bye. Like Victoria says. Bye.